Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Mauritian counterpart Navinchandra Ramgoolam have arrived in Varanasi, and currently Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Varanasi ahead of the bilateral talks. He's also holding a roadshow in Varanasi. We're getting you the latest visuals from Varanasi, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be hosting his Mauritius counterpart Navinchandra Ramgoolam, who is on a state visit to India from the 9th to the 16th of September. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Varanasi holding a roadshow in Uttar Pradesh's Varanasi, where he will also host his Mauritius counterpart, who's on a state visit to India from September 9 to 16th. In fact, Ramgoolam arrived in Kashi on September 9th and was accorded a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor. He was received by Uttar Pradesh Governor Anandibai Patel there.
तस्वीरें आप देख रहे हैं वाराणसी।
In fact, the bilateral meeting is scheduled from a little while from now, and both the leaders are going to discuss expanding cooperation in developmental partnership, capacity building, renewable energy, digital public infrastructure, and also about strengthening the blue economy. We're getting right now the latest visuals from Varanasi, where Prime Minister has arrived and is holding a roadshow right now ahead of his meeting with his Mauritius counterpart Navinchandra Ramgoolam, who is on a state visit to India. In fact, this visit is especially significant because earlier in March this year, Prime Minister Modi had visited Mauritius, and where the two countries elevated their ties to the level of an enhanced strategic partnership. That visit also saw important announcements, including cooperation in infrastructure, fintech, and ocean economy. Varanasi right now is a city deeply tied to India's cultural and spiritual roots, and one that showcases India's civilizational connect with the Indian diaspora abroad, including Mauritius. In fact, Mauritius is also home to a large Indian origin community and is seen as a natural partner in India's neighborhood first policy and the Mahasagar vision, which is the mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across region. All right, Akshay, we have Akshay right now with us from Varanasi joining us. Well, Akshay, Prime Minister has arrived in Varanasi. Tell us what all is planned ahead.
Well, actually, if you look at Prime Minister's itinerary for today, he will be coming here where Prime Minister Ramgoolam is staying, and the leaders will have bilateral talks at the hotel itself, where the two leaders will deepen the strategic ties between the two countries, enhance trade, and talk about all spectrums of ties between both Mauritius and India. But what we are seeing at this point in time is Prime Minister's show as well on the roads of Varanasi, and also the parliamentary constituency of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it's in fact every time Prime Minister is here, talking for the people of Varanasi, from shopkeepers to business owners, everyone that has Prime Minister's leadership, especially being the member of parliament from this constituency, is a very emotional moment, and that is the reason why you also see thousands of people, converging on the streets and roads of Varanasi to just get a glimpse of the Prime Minister. But participation is even more important for the people here, because foreign dignitary coming here part of your bilateral tour for a few days. This is a major chunk of the duration of Prime Minister Ramgoolam's visit to India he will be cutting daisies in Varanasi. He'll be going to the iconic places. He'll be going to perhaps in the River Ganga and also immerse himself in the spirituality of the city. So this is a very special moment indeed. Prime Minister will be arriving shortly at the hotel where Prime Minister Ramgoolam is staying, and both the leaders will have a bilateral talk along with a discussion on the ties between the two countries. So that's what we are planning for what we are seeing as far as the plan is concerned. So Prime Minister's arrival will be taking place quite shortly now, and both the leaders first will have a bilateral discussion on the ties between the two countries and find ways how to enhance ties between both Mauritius and India. Reminding our viewers that India remains a resident part of the Indian Ocean region, and this role also comes with a lot of responsibilities when it comes to providing maritime security in the region, security along with freedom of trade and navigation in these waters, especially both the countries being not only connected through maritime territories, but also the cultural and civilizational links of the two countries are centuries old. In fact, several from India were taken to countries like Mauritius, where they not only moved even but have also moved those countries from scratch, and now are occupying positions such as the Prime Minister and leading those countries towards prosperity, towards development, and that is one shot the Prime Minister said when he talks about the South and how and it's that shared
Right.
concern.
Right, Akshay, we are getting the visuals of Prime Minister in Varanasi holding a roadshow there. People all excited, a very special moment indeed. How significant is Varanasi as a location for this visit, especially given the connection of Prime Minister Modi there?
Can you repeat that question, Lepakshi? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I was asking Akshay that how significant is Varanasi as a location for this visit, especially given Prime Minister Modi's connection there?
Well, it's quite significant. This is the parliamentary constituency of the Prime Minister for the last, two elections, but also as far as Prime Minister's leadership is concerned, he has transformed the city. This used to be, in fact, Varanasi is one of the oldest cities in the world. This has been a cradle of civilization when it comes to the gigantic Ganges plains, but also this city is now fast transforming into an industrial hub, as well as moving towards more and more development as the Prime Minister has been, especially focusing on the city when it comes to development, when it comes to roads, when it comes to businesses, schools, healthcare infrastructure. Everything has been revamped ever since Prime Minister was elected from here, and his special focus has been on the city being his constituency. So it's not just development that we are showcasing to the world through the visit of Prime Minister Ramgoolam, but also the spiritual connect that all the Indian diaspora members have.
All right, Akshay, and right now on our screens we have both the Prime Ministers meeting each other, Prime Minister Modi meeting the visiting counterpart Navinchandra Ramgoolam, and both the leaders meeting in Varanasi ahead of the bilateral meeting in Varanasi right now. Up on your screens. We're getting you the latest visuals from Varanasi, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hosting his Mauritius counterpart, Navinchandra Ramgoolam, who is on a state visit to India, and both the leaders now going in for the bilateral meeting. And there's a lot on the agenda, as we know: expanding cooperation in developmental partnership, capacity building, renewable energy, digital public infrastructure, and strengthening of the blue economy. Both the leaders are meeting in Varanasi, a city deeply tied to India's cultural and spiritual roots, as our correspondent was also telling us, and that one that showcases India's civilizational connect with the Indian diaspora abroad. All right, Akshay, coming back to you. In fact, if you could tell us, how is this visit expected to advance the enhanced strategic partnership between India and Mauritius that was announced earlier this year during PM Modi's visit?
Well, Natasha, if you look at the visit, this is not a small visit. It's a visit of 8 days of a Prime Minister. So that clearly says a lot about interest that the Indian diaspora, especially the people who have taken leadership roles, they still have with India. Prime Minister Ramgoolam is here in Varanasi. He reached to in Varanasi yesterday. Right now, as far as Prime Minister Ramgoolam's plans are concerned, he will be going for Ganga. He will be witnessing the Ganga Aarti that is world renowned from Varanasi. He will be visiting the ghats. He will be visiting perhaps a cruise in Ganga River, and also then after this, Prime Minister Ramgoolam will be visiting Ayodhya. So this is when we look at this region of Purvanchal, when you look at Ayodhya, if you look at Palsi, these cities have been there for millennia. These cities have been here for thousands of years. There are attempts to find out the age of these cities, and there have been estimates that Varanasi is one of the oldest cities in the world and has been a cradle of civilization. So all the people, the indentured workers who moved from India and settled abroad, all this happened just years back, which means all of the people, all Indian diaspora members have, an cultural connect. Their forefathers were born here, so naturally there is a lot of curiosity as far as these people are concerned in different parts of the world who were part of the Girmita community that Prime Minister highlighted. So with this cultural connect also a civilization link, also comes an emotional connect, also comes a personal connect that gets highlighted on visits. So it's not just the bilateral agenda of maritime security, trade, exchanges, but also a deep emotional as well as cultural link that is there that can. Our Prime Minister has been focusing on the Girmita community from across the world. Prime Minister went to Mauritius. He was restored the highest civilian order there. The Prime Minister talked about the Girmita Samaj, the Girmita community, that is the indentured laborers who moved who were taken from India and then were sent to different countries for sugarcane plantations, and now from there and then to now becoming the prime ministers and leaders of those countries. It's not just Mauritius. You can take examples from different countries. Other countries like Mauritius and several more have people from these Girmita community now assuming leadership roles. So that shows you the kind of journey of these people who started from the bottom and now they are at the top. So clearly we can see the kind of hard work that has been put. So naturally, after a certain point in time, people trace back their roots to India. People trace back their languages, their cultures, and a lot more. There in Mauritius, there are museums that have been of the indentured labor of the Girmita community, documenting their journey, how they brought Ramayanas and Mahabharatas from India, and they have been put on those museums. So naturally, it is an unforgettable, civilizational link that still remain between the communities of the indentured labor community scattered across the world and their roots back in India. So that civilizational link always remains there, and there is a mutual respect as far as India and Mauritius are concerned towards the people of Mauritius. India has deep, mutual respect between the two communities, and that is why we can see the kind of warm welcome that was, given to Prime Minister Ramgoolam as soon as he arrived here in Varanasi. Back to Akshay.
Right, Akshay. In fact, on our screens right now, we can see both the Prime Ministers greeting each other, and the bonhomie between them is quite clearly evident. In fact, Akshay, we've been talking a lot about a lot on the agenda today in the bilateral talks. What areas of cooperation are expected to see the most progress, especially in fields like renewable energy, digital infrastructure, and the blue economy?
Well, we cannot single out a single point of agenda because that depends on the leader, what they want to, work on. But as far as the core agendas are concerned, we can look at maritime security as one of the most important areas between the two countries. Then there is the pharmaceutical sector, education, tourism industry that is quite highly developed in Mauritius. We keep on hearing about the kind of beautiful beaches Mauritius has and how the country has used those resources to turn the country that is in the middle of the Indian Ocean into one of the most iconic tourist spots for people from across the world. So, that is something that India can learn as far as development is concerned. The kind of economic growth that India has attained over the last 2 decades, that is a point of a lot of curiosity among the global South countries that they want to replicate in their nations, and the trade talks that are also quite important may see a lot of progress with this bilateral visit.
Also, Akshay, what role does Mauritius play in India's Mahasagar vision and the broader neighborhood first policy?
Well, Prime Minister's vision from the very beginning has been about neighborhood first. Prime Minister has been talking about neighborhood first policy. He has made sure that his swearing-in ceremonies to other important events, he highlights the role of the global South, the importance of the South as well as other neighboring nations. As we develop, as our trade grows, the focus goes on more towards the maritime borders, towards trade, freedom of trade and freedom of navigation, to ensure that the economies keep on developing, to ensure that the countries, the civilizations, fight together against piracy, against terrorism, against everything that threatens the freedom of trade and freedom of navigation in these regions, especially the Indian Ocean region and the Indo-Pacific. So that is a core interest between the two countries on how to enhance trade and how to enhance security in the region. Mauritius also remains the gateway to Africa. It has been called the gateway to Africa by even Prime Minister, where he said that through Mauritius you open the doors towards Africa. So also Mauritius is part of the African continent and also part of the African Union. So with the Prime Minister in the G20 and all of the actions that have been taken by Prime Minister to highlight the issues, the concerns of the global South have been areas of core interest. So there we can see a lot more progress with this visit, and also we can expect more people-to-people connect to enhance in the upcoming days.
Right. Akshay, you were mentioning about people-to-people connect, which of course has been given a lot of importance. How are the people-to-people ties and shared cultural heritage between the two nations going to be highlighted during this visit?
Well, with the display of cultural performances, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, there is the link that connects the nations, that connects the civilization that started from India, that started from cities like Varanasi, were on full display. People holding the Mauritian and Indian flags on different hands. Prime Minister being welcomed by thousands of the people that were out on the streets of Varanasi clearly is a demonstration of the respect that people have, despite knowing not so much about Mauritius, despite knowing so much about the journey and the problems of the indentured workers who mostly migrated from areas such as Uttar Pradesh, in states such as Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So it always remains there in the back of the mind of the Mauritian people that these are the cities that their forefathers were from to the countries like Mauritius. So there clearly on display will be all of these cultural ties, and this is the living bridge of the Indian diaspora that will make the connection between the two countries stronger.
Absolutely. Also, Akshay, is anything expected regarding development or capacity building initiatives in Mauritius?
Well, we'll see. Prime Ministers of both the countries will be having a bilateral discussion, and any kind of breakthrough that is achieved, any kind of deals or memorandums of understanding that are agreed upon will be shared by the Prime Ministers themselves as they come on the dais to address the media.
Right. If we talk about the broader perspectives, Akshay, what are the broader geopolitical or regional implications of this visit, especially in the context of the maritime security of the Indian Ocean?
Well, India has been trying to deepen its ties with the countries of the Indian Ocean region, the nations in the Indian Ocean region. It has been achieving great success, success to a great extent, and with these kind of visits that not only are a formality but are that stem out of great curiosity in the culture, in the links that the indentured communities, the Girmita communities that are in the leadership roles, that strengthens both the sides, both Mauritius and and India as well, when it comes to the security situation of the Indian Ocean region. India is, or rather remains, the security provider of the region, of the vast Indian Ocean, and we can expect the sort of initiatives that have been taken, like Sagarmala project, to be taken to new heights with this particular visit.
All right. Akshay, also, in fact, are there any cultural or religious engagements planned for Prime Minister Ramgoolam in Varanasi that underscores the civilizational links, especially between the both countries? Akshay, are you able to hear us? We seem to have lost Akshay for now. In fact, we're getting you visuals from Varanasi, where both the leaders are holding a bilateral talks right now. The bilateral meeting is scheduled in Varanasi, and on the agenda a lot of factors: expanding cooperation and development partnership, capacity building, renewable energy, digital public infrastructure, and strengthening the blue economy. In fact, during the bilateral discussions, the two leaders will also review the full spectrum of cooperation with particular focus on development partnership and capacity building. They will also discuss opportunities for expanding collaboration in health, education, science and technology, energy, infrastructure, as well as emerging domains such as renewable energy, digital public infrastructure, and the blue economy. And we have Akshay back with us right now. Akshay, are there any religious or cultural engagements planned from Prime Minister Ramgoolam in Varanasi that underscores the civilizational links between the two countries? All right, there seems to be a glitch with the audio for Akshay. We'll try and get back to him. Meanwhile, we're getting you the visuals from Varanasi, where Prime Minister arrived a little while back. He had a roadshow, and now we're getting you visuals of the meeting between the two leaders. Both the Prime Ministers greeting each other before the bilateral talks. As you can see on your screens, Prime Minister Modi meeting his Mauritius counterpart in the holy city of Varanasi, a city deeply tied to India's cultural and spiritual heritage and roots, and one that showcases India's civilizational connect with the Indian diaspora abroad, including Mauritius. In fact, this visit is especially significant because earlier in March this year, Prime Minister Modi had visited Mauritius, where the two countries elevated their ties to the level of an enhanced strategic partnership. That visit also saw important announcements, including cooperation in infrastructure, fintech, and ocean economy. And we have Akshay back on the phone line with us. Well, Akshay, I was asking you that are there any cultural or religious engagements planned for Prime Minister Ramgoolam in Varanasi today that underscores the civilizational links between the two countries?
What we are getting to hear is that Prime Minister Ramgoolam may attend the Ganga Aarti today at the ghats, at the famous ghats of Varanasi. He may go on a cruise. He may visit temples here in what we consider as a spirituality capital of India. The cradle of civilization that has centuries old temples here, where people from not just India but from all around the world
gather to immerse in the spiritual experience. So clearly, what we can see at this point in time is that Prime Minister Ramgoolam, after his bilateral visit, after his bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will be going for visit in the temple to different places, especially inside the city, and then from here on he'll also be going to Ayodhya, where he's likely to visit the Ram Janmabhoomi temple inside this holy city. So it's a lot of spiritual experience that will be on display, as well as experienced by Prime Minister Ramgoolam along with the delegation he has brought. But before that, we'll see also the exchanges of memorandums of understanding. We'll see cooperation enhancing between the two countries. For what we can expect is a packed schedule for the Prime Minister Ramgoolam, as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because Prime Minister Modi has been looking after the flood situation that has erupted in Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and in Uttarakhand as well. Prime Minister had visited. Meeting Prime Minister Ramgoolam, Prime Minister Modi will be leaving for Uttarakhand to take a stock of the situation. So even in this limited time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi taking out time, visiting Varanasi, doing a roadshow, meeting doing this roadshow to sort of connect with the people of his constituency, along with meeting by having bilateral meeting. Ramgoolam, Prime Minister, has been trying to
All right.
touch all the aspects.
All right, Akshay, thanks for getting us those details. We were getting you direct visuals from Varanasi, where Prime Ministers of both the countries, India and Mauritius, are having bilateral talks. They're holding bilateral talks. And after this, Prime Minister is also going to visit Uttarakhand today. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.